Something is happening in the carry market that almost nobody on YouTube is talking about. Real carriers are switching to 10 millimeters, not competition shooters, not hunters, not the weekend range crowd who wants to shoot the most powerful thing they can find. Everyday carry permit holders who have carried 9 millimeters for years are quietly making a switch that the rest of the carry community has not caught up to yet. And the reasons are not what you expect. This is not about stopping power arguments. This is not about ballistics gel videos. This is not about which caliber sounds most impressive at the range. This is about what real carriers have discovered after years of carrying 9mm and then switching, and why the reasons they switched are more practical, more rational, and more data-driven than the 10mm reputation would suggest. Today, we are telling you exactly why real carriers are actually switching to 10mm in 2026, and the answer is going to surprise everyone who thinks this is just a macho caliber choice. Let's get into it. Reason 1. The platforms got genuinely carryable. The reason most serious carry buyers rejected 10mm historically was not the caliber, it was the platform. The original 10mm carry options were the full-size Delta Elite and the full-size Colt Double Eagle. Big guns, heavy guns, guns that required deliberate wardrobe choices and significant carry commitment. The caliber was interesting, but the carry experience was not. In 2026, the platform situation has changed fundamentally. The Glock 29 Gen 4 is a subcompact 10mm that weighs 24.7 ounces unloaded and holds 10+1 rounds. The Springfield Armory XDM Elite Compact in 10mm holds 11+1 in a carry-friendly package. The Kimber Camp Guard 10 brought premium 1911 ergonomics to a packable 10mm frame. The CG Sauer P220 Legion in 10mm brought the finest factory trigger available on any metal frame carry pistol to a caliber that previously had no premium carry platform. Real carriers who switched to 10mm in 2026 consistently cite platform availability as the first reason. The guns that now exist in 10mm are genuinely portable, not theoretical carry options. Actual daily carry guns that experienced carriers have worn for months without the carry experience becoming unacceptable. The carry market in 2026 has 10mm platforms it simply did not have 5 years ago. That changed the calculation for a significant number of experienced carriers. Reason 2. One gun for multiple threat environments. This is the reason nobody in the carry community talks about, and the one that matters most to the carriers who have actually made the switch. A significant percentage of American carry permit holders do not live exclusively in urban environments. They carry in cities on weekdays and in rural or suburban environments on weekends. They travel between environments regularly. They encounter threat profiles that vary dramatically between a parking garage confrontation and an outdoor encounter with wildlife or feral dogs in a rural area. 9mm is the optimal caliber for the urban defensive scenario. It is not the optimal caliber for every environment a carrier encounters. 10mm is. Real carriers who switch to 10mm report the same reasoning. They wanted one gun that was genuinely appropriate across every environment they carry in. 9mm is excellent for two-legged threats. 10mm is excellent for two-legged threats and has meaningful additional capability against four-legged threats that 9mm does not match. For the carrier who drives from a city apartment to a rural property on weekends and wants to carry the same gun in both environments, 10mm solves a real problem that 9mm does not solve as completely. The reason nobody talks about this is that most YouTube carry content is written for urban environments by urban creators for urban audiences. The significant percentage of carry permit holders who regularly encounter rural environments are making carry decisions that the algorithm does not reflect. Reason 3. The ammunition situation actually improved. 3 years ago, 10mm defensive ammunition was limited, expensive, and inconsistently available. Those were legitimate reasons to choose 9mm over 10mm, even for carriers who found the caliber appealing. In 2026, that situation has changed meaningfully. Federal Premium, Hornady, Speer, and Winchester all produce premium defensive 10mm loads with documented terminal performance data. Availability at major retailers is consistent in a way it was not in 2021 and 2022. Prices are still above 9mm, but within a range that serious carry buyers find acceptable for defensive ammunition. They are not shooting in volume. Real carriers who switched to 10mm in 2026 cite the improved ammunition situation as removing the last practical objection they had. The caliber they wanted was now backed by the defensive ammunition selection they needed. That combination was not available 5 years ago. Reason 4. Experienced carriers reassessed the recoil argument. The consistent objection to 10mm carry is recoil. Too much, too sharp, Follow-up shots too slow. The argument is not wrong for a shooter who picks up a 10mm and fires it without training on the platform. It is wrong for a trained 10mm carrier. Real carriers who switch to 10mm and trained on the platform for 6 months consistently report that their follow-up shot accuracy at carry distances between 3 and 15 yards is indistinguishable from their 9mm performance on the same drills. The recoil is different, not unmanageable. Different. And like all recoil differences, it responds to training. The experienced carriers who are switching to 10mm in 2026 are not switching because they decided recoil does not matter. They are switching because they trained on the platform and discovered that the recoil argument dissolves with dedicated training time. The same way it always has for every caliber transition any experienced shooter has ever made. Reason 5. The actual numbers on 10mm performance. Here's what the ballistics data says when you read it without the caliber war narrative applied on top of it. Federal Premium 10mm 180 grain HST produces muzzle velocity of approximately 1,030 feet per second with muzzle energy of approximately 425 foot-pounds from a subcompact barrel. Federal Premium 9mm 124 grain HST produces muzzle velocity of approximately 1,150 feet per second with muzzle energy of approximately 364 foot-pounds from a comparable barrel. The 10mm produces approximately 16% more muzzle energy than the premium 9mm defensive load from the same size platform. That is not a theoretical difference. That is a documented ballistic difference that translates into real-world terminal performance differences that experienced emergency medicine professionals have documented in clinical settings. Are not making an emotional choice. They are making a mathematical one. 16% more energy from a platform that has become genuinely carryable in 2026 is a defensible, rational decision for an experienced carrier who is trained on the platform. The guns real carriers are switching to, the specific 10mm platforms that experienced carriers are actually choosing in 2026 are not the same guns the 10mm reputation is built around. The Glock 29 Gen 4 is the most carried, subcompact size, 10+1 capacity. The entire Glock aftermarket is available. Familiar manual of arms for the millions of Glock-trained carriers making the caliber switch. The Springfield XDM Elite Compact in 10mm is the second most common choice among switchers. 11+1 capacity. The OSP Optics Ready Cut. The Match Enhanced Trigger. A carry package that competes with anything in the compact 10mm category. The Sig Sauer P220 Legion in 10mm is the choice of the carrier who wants the finest factory trigger available in the caliber. 8+1 capacity, all-metal construction. Legion Series factory tuning. The carrier who is willing to carry 8 rounds of 10mm in exchange for the P22. O trigger and the P22 O build quality is making a deliberate and defensible choice. Real carriers are switching to 10mm in 2026 for reasons that have nothing to do with the macho caliber reputation the platform has carried for 30 years. They are switching because the platforms got genuinely carryable. Because one gun now covers multiple threat environments more completely than 9mm. Because the ammunition situation improved enough to remove the last practical objection. Because trained carriers discovered the recoil argument dissolves with dedicated training. And because 16% more muzzle energy from a carryable platform is a mathematical reality that experienced carriers found difficult to dismiss honestly. This is not a recommendation to switch. If you carry 9mm, train on 9mm, have a trusted platform in 9mm, and have no specific reason to change, your carry setup is excellent and you should keep it. This is an honest explanation of why a growing number of experienced carriers are making a different choice in 2026. And that choice is more rational, more data-driven, and more practical than the 10mm reputation would suggest. Hit that like button if this video explains something the carry community has been missing. Subscribe for honest carry content that goes where the data leads. Drop a comment telling us whether you carry 10mm and why, or whether you think the switchers are making a mistake. Stay safe, stay trained, carry what you have actually decided is right for your specific situation.